Have you ever stood up against human rights violations and faced backlash from higher-ups? Well, I've been through it. Ended up leaving my job in Sri Lanka to study human rights in the UK. Wondered why my workplace superiors didn't protect me. Turns out it's a widespread issue back home, from local to national levels. So I wondered, who protects human rights defenders when the state fails? Is there resource beyond our borders? That's where the UN UPR steps in. UPR, Universal Periodic Review. It's like a human rights checkup every 4.5 years for countries. Here's how it works. Each country submits a report on its human rights issues and efforts to address them. Then all other UN member countries offer recommendations. After 4.5 years, they check back to see if recommendations were implemented. Sounds good on paper, right? But here's the catch. Countries can fudge their reports. But NGOs step in to keep it real. They have a seat at UPR table to share human rights info. So when the governments boast about progress on a certain right, NGOs may respond, actually that's right still being trampled on. Among various human rights issues, I selected protecting human rights defenders in Sri Lanka, partly because of my own run-ins, but also because it's a big deal back home. Imagine journalists disappearing for speaking up on minority rights, or activists facing discriminations like having to wait forever just to book a venue for an event. Some of these horror stories reach the international stage via UPR, but not all. Sure, UPR puts pressure on governments to clean up their act, but these recommendations, they are optional. Governments can accept or reject them, and even if they accept, there's no real penalty for non-compliance within the time frame. So I'm exploring how well the UPR actually protects human rights defenders in Sri Lanka. Here's my plan. First, I'm diving deep into all the reports since UPR cycles began in 2008, accessing all the docs on OHCHR website, coding the data into different topics. Who's recommending what? How many of those recommendations are actually being acted upon? Are the promises in national reports holding up in reality? Do similar recommendations repeat? And it's not just numbers and stats though. I'm mixing it up with qualitative elements too. Gonna chat with NGOs and pros to get the real deal on what's happening on the ground. Got to be careful, especially when dealing with sensitive issues. Privacy is a big deal, especially for those in marginalized groups or involved in ongoing trials. Once I'm done with the research, I'll have a clear picture on how well the UPR is doing for human rights defenders in Sri Lanka. It will spot what's working and what's not, and it will highlight where the government hasn't protected human rights defenders, intentionally or not. The goal? Highlight the system's flaws, suggest improvements, and hold the government accountable for its actions, or lack thereof. It's about bridging the gap from policy to real protection on the ground. I really want to make sure those who fight for rights don't fight alone.